We will be in Proverbs 15 tonight. And again, we continue in there's kind of a series of chapters that are very topical, jumping from one topic to the other, but it's kind of a contrast of righteous and foolish living. So it's kind of clarification for that. And this one, I think, adds a little bit more to the idea of the tongue and that aspect of our life. But that's throughout the book of Proverbs quite a bit in a number of different places. We're going to have 4 readers tonight: Frank Steinbaugh and Fred Wood and Wiley Risley and Ken Hollingsworth. I wrote down Ken Kaufman, so I got to correct that because Ken's not here. My autocorrect didn't correct that. But Ken Hollingsworth will be doing it. We probably all have been in a situation, haven't we, whenever we, where there was a lot of conflict, people, loud voices, disagreement, whatever it might be, and if you can get people to calm down, take a little bit of the emotion out of it, think a little bit more rational and all of that, sometimes that can be really productive, because then you can have a rational conversation about the disagreement and get to a better place. If it turns into an emotional spewing contest, it just gets worse and worse and worse, usually, anyway. So anyway, that I think the Proverbs are correct in that, as it starts out here, a gentle answer turns away wrath. So Frank, if you will, read verses 1 through 7.
A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The tongue of the wise commends knowledge, but the mouth of the fool gushes folly. The eyes of the Lord are everywhere, keeping watch on the wicked and the good. The tongue that brings healing is a tree of life, but a deceitful tongue crushes the spirit. Fools spurns his father's discipline, but whoever heeds correction shows prudence. The house of the righteous contains great treasure, but the income of the wicked brings them trouble. The lips of the wise spread knowledge, not so the hearts of fools.
Okay. Frank he said, I think I could read out of this NIV a little bit easier. So that's what he's reading out of the NIV, and it's one of the older ones, the 1984 NIV that he had. So a few differences in time, but this is, that's very good. Thanks for doing that, Frank. All right, I think tongue, or, wow, I don't know how many times the word tongue, and then harsh words, mouth of the fools, that whole idea is there a lot in that section. So I think God is wise. Even God, whenever he chose to speak the gospel, he didn't come shouting in a loud voice, although it was very powerful. The disciples, after they saw the angel, went telling about the gospel, about how Jesus had raised from the dead. But God doesn't correct us by yelling. He corrects us by getting us information. Way back in Noah's time, Moses was the same way. A lot of the prophets were that way. You have Jeremiah that was more emotional, and Isaiah and some of those, but most of them were speaking forth. Even Jesus, well, John the Baptist came crying in the wilderness, but that's just a figure of speech of saying it that way. Jesus was always calm even when the woman was caught in adultery. I picture him doing that in a calm way. Whenever he tells Thomas to put his fingers in the nail prints, I'm sure he said, "Thomas, take a look. Go ahead, stick your finger in." He didn't yell at him and get real emotional and all that. Now, Thomas was emotional in response to it. But anyway, our tongue is really important. It's an index to our heart. Because Jesus said, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. The things that are inside us come out that we speak. It's hard to keep those things silent. So training our mind right is how we control our tongue. If we don't train our mind and our hearts right, then our tongue is going to be, like James says, no man can control it. We can get better. Obviously, the fruit of the Spirit is self-control, so we can get better at that. But what are your thoughts or insights in those 7 verses about the tongue, the mouth? A soothing tongue is a tree of life. You know, the 84 said a little bit differently, but a deceitful tongue crushes the spirit. Even verse 5 about eating correction, I think that's probably words of correction. It's not the correction the parents give. That's probably even part of a parent's discipline. That's the first part of verse 5. And then the lips of the wise spread knowledge. So a number of things there. Anything stand out to you guys?
In almost every one of those that I've read already, that the more calm and thought that you put into what you're saying, the better it comes out in every which way.
Yes, Joe?
I've often wondered why in the Bible there's not a book of Thomas. Is there a story behind that?
Good. Well, John does a good job representing Thomas, I think, in his gospel. But yeah, good question. Because I think that's a lot the way a lot of us are. Jerry?
I think we also have to remember there are times to be stern. Remember Christ chasing out the money changers in the temple. He didn't speak softly then.
Yeah.
I don't picture him speaking softly then. And when he was, during his ministry, woe to you Pharisees, but we need to remember, he wasn't in an argument.
Mm-hmm.
This is talking about when you're in an argument.
Right.
And, it's really not easy to come up with soft, gentle words when you're in an argument.
Yeah.
So, the real challenges is right there.
Sometimes we see sports teams kind of arguing and fighting and disagreeing, and that's usually not a good turnout. I mean, among themselves, their own team.
I was just thinking family members.
Yeah.
You know, within the family.
Right. Very true. Fred, were you going to say something, or was it Wiley? I saw a hand over here. Fred?
This is not textual, but there's pretty good evidence from after the New Testament times that Thomas moved over to India area. And there are people in that area of the world that claim that their Christianity goes all the way back to Thomas. So that may be why he wasn't so well known for, maybe he did write a book
Mm-hmm.
in an Indian language.
Right. Yeah. Wiley?
I was going to say that the first verse here reminds me of some people who are designated as Karens.
That's what?
Karens. And they yell and scream at an individual about nothing. And it is, sometimes they get repaid for that. And it does create anger in people when they get rambling on like that.
Very good. Chris?
I think if we consider verse 3 and knowing that God's eyes are upon us, and we really believe that, that's gonna put a more soothing tone on what we retort at times.
Very good. Yeah, that tells us about God. You know, if we ask that Discovery Bible question, what do we learn about God in this passage? That's the one that says, I want to say omnipresent, but it's, my first thought was omniscient. God knows. You can't hide. Adam and Eve tried to hide and they couldn't. But knowing that the eyes of the Lord are everywhere and they're watching out for us. There's even a song, there's an all-seeing eye watching you, isn't there? And depending on how you're behaving, that's good or bad. That's either a very comforting, peace-giving song, or if you're if you're mischievous, that's a got caught kind of a song. So yeah, our words, we never know what's going to catch us, do we? And in this day and age, there is usually, you go to a restaurant and there's a camera somewhere in the ceiling, and many of those have microphones. So you might think you're dining with somebody kind of in private or whatever, but, you know, and most of those I think are all good and fine and all of that, but people hear things, don't they? And our words carry a lot of power. So even when we don't think they do.
Kevin, on number one for the general answer, just from experience, I was doing security at a grocery store, and two men came in and they started fighting over the same basket. There was only one there, and two grown men, and I just went up to them and said, if you gentlemen wait a minute, I'll go back. I went and got another basket, brought it up to them. They went their way, but then the next time they came in, you have never seen it. And even between themselves, it was, you know, that just, gentlemen, let's calm down. But there are more baskets. We can handle this. But I mean, it could have escalated very easily. But it's just how, as maybe a third person, how we can react to a situation that can possibly get out of hand that could calm things down.
Yeah. Sounds like a 3 and a 4-year-old.
Yes, not a 40 and a 50-year-old,
Yeah, that's right.
which what
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. I know as grandparenting, sometimes that's the thing to do when there's conflict. Just calm down. Let's get through this. We'll be all right. Donna.
The soft answer turns away wrath. In my career in HR, I spent half my time keeping people from killing each other. And I had a soft voice, and they had to lower theirs to hear me. And I did it on purpose so that they would listen to what I was going to say. And nobody killed each other. I fired some, and they thanked me for doing it because I did it in a good way.
Very good. Our speech should be seasoned with salt, shouldn't it? Meaning we should make our speech palatable. All right, let's go on to verse 8 through 11. Fred's going to read that for us.
The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but the prayer of the upright is his delight. The way of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but he loves those who seek righteousness. Painful discipline is for him who forsakes the way, and he who hates correction will die. The Lord sees the grave and destruction, and how much more human hearts.
All right, there's a little bit more of God's knowledge. Our hearts are open to him. He can see it. We don't even have to use words, and he knows what's on our heart. obviously we want to use words and pray to God and talk to him that way, but our hearts open to God. Well, the Lord detests the NIV. It's an abomination through the McCord translation. It's an abomination for sacrifice, the sacrifice of the wicked, and the ways of the wicked. And discipline is an important part of that. We've been talking about guardrails on Sunday morning. This is awaits the one who leaves the path. Stern discipline awaits those who leave the path. Spiritually speaking, the path to God is narrow, and only a few get there. Broad is the way that leads to destruction. And if we heed God's word, he's going to say, well done, good and faithful servant. But the one who leaves the path, there's going to be stern discipline, and they're not going to like the correction that they receive. So I think it's really important to listen to what God says, how God leads us, how God guides us through his word, through preaching, through parenting, through those people that are around. Anything else stand out to you guys? Detest is kind of a strong word to me, and I don't know why that is. But
New King James uses the word abomination.
Yeah, I guess that's what McCord used too.
That seems to be stronger than detest.
Okay.
To me, detest, you kind of make a face at it. Abomination, you don't want anything to do with it whatsoever.
All right, interesting, because I don't feel like we use the word abomination. Why can't I say it right?
Tangle something a little.
Okay, yeah, that's right. All right. But we don't use that word. I don't feel like you hear that word much. Maybe it's too strong. I don't know.
Maybe not enough know how to pronounce it.
That's fair. I'm not going to try any more tonight on that word. I probably didn't write it down right whenever I wrote it down. And death and destruction lies open before the Lord. How much more God's human? All right, Dan Danielson, I'm going to get you some way. All right, Wiley, let's go 12 through 15.
Mockers resent correction, so they avoid the wise. The happy heart makes the face cheerful, but heartache crushes the spirit. The discerning heart seeks knowledge, but the mouth of a fool feeds on folly. All the days of the oppressed are wretched, but the cheerful heart has a continual feast.
All right. How many times does it mention heart in that little section? Happy heart, heartache, discerning heart, cheerful heart. A lot about the heart there. So we want to guard our hearts. Mockers, another word for the person who is foolish. There's a number of words, and this one is mockers resent correction. Now, my observation is I don't know too many people who enjoy correction. But obviously, if you want to do something the best you can, you invite correction. You look for correction. You listen to correction. Some of you have kids and grandkids and great-grandkids that are really good at correction, I know. And some of you are really good at correction. But a happy heart makes the face cheerful. Probably lowers your blood pressure too. But a heartache crushes the spirit. If your heart's broken, if your heart's hurt, if your heart is injured, and I think this is kind of emotionally, and it's hard to avoid heartache in this life. In this broken world, heartache around, it seems like everywhere. There's also a lot of reason to rejoice as well. And then a discerning heart looks or seeks for knowledge, and the mouth comes up again as it did in the first of the chapter. But a cheerful heart has a continual feast. Anything else standing out to you guys on that one? Okay, 16 through 33 then, Ken Hollingsworth.
Better a little with the fear of the Lord than great wealth and turmoil. Better a small serving of vegetables with love than a fatted calf with hatred. A hot-tempered person stirs up conflict, but the one who is patient calms the quarrel. The way of the sluggard is blocked with thorns, but the path of the upright is a highway. A wise son brings joy to his father, but a foolish man despises his mother. Folly brings joy to one who has no sense, but whoever has understanding keeps a straight course. Pain falls for lack of counsel, plans fall for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. A person finds joy in giving an apt reply, and how good is a timely word. The path of life leads upward for the prudent, to keep them from going down to the realm of the dead. The Lord tears down the house of the proud, but he sets the window's boundary stones in place. The Lord detests the thoughts of the wicked, but the gracious words are pure in his sight. The greedy bring ruin to their households, but the one who hates bribes will live. The heart of the righteous weighs in its answers, but the mouth of the wicked gushes evil. The Lord is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayers of the righteous. A light in a messenger's eyes brings joy to the heart, and good news gives health to the bones. Whoever heeds life-giving correction will be at home among the wise. Those who disregard discipline despise themselves, but the one who heeds correction gains understanding. Wisdom's instruction is to fear the Lord, and humility comes before honor.
All right. Several more things there about our words. Several verses about our temper. Some about laziness. Some about counsel. Several on pride, humility and pride. Several on wealth and greed. So, which one's your favorite? Also some about lazy too, but some about wisdom. And some more on, did I say some more on words and mouth and timing?
Is that your favorite, about laziness?
That, it is. I love my lazy boy. My downfall is my powered chair. When my father-in-law died, he had it about 2 weeks, and it was a $high chair. It's a nice chair, really soft. And it's nice to just go back, just push a button and it just, you lay back. But when the electricity goes out, it's hard to get out of it, I'll tell you that. It's happened a couple of times. It's a reminder. But I haven't used my stomach muscles for the last 5 years like I used to. That's a problem. Uh,
Verse 22 sticks out for me. Plans fail for the lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. Reminds me of what my dad used to tell me. If I had a tree to cut down in 8 hours, I'd use 6 of it sharpening the axe.
Now, there's a lot of wisdom in that, isn't it? When you're young, you get out there and you start whacking away, using every muscle you can and try to get it down. But if you're wise, you'll get some help and some advice and perspective. And so that's a good one. That's a good one, Mike. Any others stand out to you guys? They're all so good.
That last verse, he uses that phrase, the fear of the Lord, and uses another attribute of what proper fear of the Lord is. He's used that before in several of these things that we've been through.
Verse.
Fear of the Lord is instruction in wisdom.
Yeah.
But back up in this chapter, he talks a lot about knowledge too. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to think, okay, they have to go together. This kind of reminds me of the old saying of we get too late smart and too soon old. We don't wise up until a lot of times later in life. And I shouldn't have done that back then.
Right.
Should have done that.
16 is like that too,
Yeah, it talks about the fear of the Lord, isn't it?
but it's talking about being happy with a little rather than great wealth with a lot of turmoil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the American dream is if you could just have a little bit more, then you'll be happy. But when you get there, it's always a little bit more, and it's just a little further down the road, isn't it? A little bit more, a little bit more. And then it becomes a lifestyle. Now, the fear of the Lord is so important to us, and that is more than just awe of God. There's the whole concept of respecting God, His words, His character, and all of that together, put together, is the fear of the Lord. So that's why it's in Proverbs so much, I think. Anything else? Okay, well, let's close in prayer. Any new prayers, things you want us to pray for? Okay.
Oh, I was just gonna mention verse 23, a person finds joy in giving an apt reply, and how good is a timely word. What a blessing when you're a person that can think and speak and bring joy to others and to yourself and help others. That's that is truly a wise thing.
Yeah. To me, that is grandparenting, isn't it? Grandparents have such a great power that way. But you're right. Go to somebody for counsel or insight, a good friend that you can always go to for the right word, and they give you the word you need to hear personally at the right time. Dale?
Yeah, I like verse 30. A cheerful look brings joy to the heart, and good news gives health to the bones.
You can sure get out of a lot of trouble with a smile on your face, can't you? And you can say some of those timely words when you have a smile on your face. So that's.
Sometimes you can give a smile to somebody that's not smiling, and they'll smile back. Sometimes they won't.
Yeah, sometimes they won't. That's right. But if you give them a sad face, they'll probably have a sad face. All right. Go ahead, Alice.
I was just thinking, Kevin, if we really looked at Proverbs, and even though thinking back, it was written way back when, there's so much good for us today, in today's time, in the
words from forever now on and really take it to heart. How does it affect our lives? How do we interact with people? What we say?
Yeah, these words to me are timeless. So they're worth memorizing or at least taking into our hearts. All right, any additions to prayer requests?